he dealt with a lot of injuries. He had the hernia, the hernia back injury, and he was just beat up, the entire season. So having a year off and letting your body heal, and still taking care of your body might have did some great things and might have, extended his career of some sort for a couple years. He will be rusty, no doubt, but the Raiders have a top 5 offensive line in the league, and they're a great passing team, which means that he should get a lot of run room. So I expect him, if he does play, I expect him to go, 1,200 yards, 11 to 12 touchdowns.
1,200, okay. Okay.
100 yards.
We'll see. I'm gonna hold you to that. We'll be talking about that throughout the season. But he's still beast mode. Only time will tell. I think because he has not played though, I think we're gonna see some hammy injuries early on. I think training camp. I think training camp is gonna be key for him because you haven't been there, and I don't know what he does during the off season, all that kind of stuff. But I think it's gonna be an interesting situation. When they get the deal done. All right, so let's talk about the Giants here. You got Eli. Man, look like these Manning boys is not as clean as everybody thought they were. and quick pause for my man Denny Green. That was a little quote from Denny Green because I don't know if y'all remember that rant that he had, but. Anyway, Eli is allegedly involved in this Giants fake memorabilia scheme, which honestly, yesterday was my first time hearing about it. So I'm actually still kind of reading up on it, but I'm assuming he must have had, some type of, some jerseys or something that he was giving away or trying to sell or something. But Eli in the news, big right now.
Yeah, I read bits and pieces of this. And I thought it was extremely interesting. Supposedly, there was some uniforms, helmets, jerseys, whatever, that basically he autographed, and basically memorabilia company sold it as a game worn item, and it was not game worn. So and they have some emails, I guess, where Eli has confirmed basically, at one point he told somebody to scuff up the helmet a little bit more, so it looks more worn, and things like that. So it's an interesting situation. But we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, that's I think something that they'll end up working out. I mean, I don't know if Eli's going to get fined. I don't know if he's going to be suspended. I doubt it because there's so much, movement around, switching the jerseys and all that kind of stuff. Chief Rocket says, helmet, not jersey. He said, boy, y'all love talking about my teams. And I said, yeah, you're right about it. Just like they love talking about the Cowboys. It's those two teams that are so prominent and so much of a big name and a big market. Also want to give a shout out to Jeff, the Jeff Fox Show. He's in the building. Appreciate you for tuning in. All right, so that's the thing going on with Eli. The other big thing going on right now is Aaron Hernandez, who's already in jail for life. So I guess they didn't want to kick him while he was down. They decided not to convict him for this other murder, which it was very, very possible that he would have got convicted for that as well, because it seemed like the writing was on the wall that this was a murder that he committed. So I guess you can put a point in the win column for Aaron Hernandez, even though he's going to be in jail for the rest of his life. Now,
here's the humor in the situation, and although it's not humorous that two people lost their lives or whatever, but the lawyer that represented Aaron Hernandez and got him off this case is the same lawyer that got Casey Anthony off her case. And if anybody's familiar with the Casey Anthony case, this is a case where the daughter came up missing, right? Came up missing for some months, and then they ended up finding out that she was dead, and the mom never knew where she was at, right? So it's weird how these individuals get off on cases that are so plain it seems, it seems like it's so plain. It seems like it's an easy
Slam
open
dunk.
and shut case.
Right.
And somehow he got off. He has tattoos memorializing his actions. This dude is hilarious. He's hilarious. But he's still sitting in prison for the rest of his life. Although he does have an appeal that's supposedly supposed to be coming up. We'll see. I highly doubt if he gets off. But yeah, I guess you can call it a victory in the situation. I don't really know how to how to call it, but I guess it was a victory.
Yeah, I guess you can call it that. Vince Wright says anybody signing AP, man, that's a head scratcher to me. I know AP is going to get signed eventually. I think the same for Kaepernick. Eventually, it's going to happen, but I think AP is going to have to come to the realization that you may not be the starter. You may come on a team where they've already got somebody, and you're the second in the 1-2 punch. It may be that kind of situation. But I do think Adrian Peterson still has some years left, just like Beast Mode. I don't know where he's going to sign at, though. I'm still wondering why he's still out there. I think the Raiders thing is I think over with now. If you got Marshawn Lynch, I don't see them adding AP, but if they're able to do that, that would be the biggest steal of this offseason and the two biggest free agency acquisitions probably ever in history.
Yeah, I do see him getting signed. I think he will get signed. I don't know where. I can't say exactly where yet. But I do feel he will get signed, and he's just right now just taking his time and basically figuring out what he wants to do. And he has that luxury. I don't think he wants to go in prior to training camp, and I don't think he should. He's a vet. And whatever team he goes to, they're going to run the ball. They're going to want to run the ball, and he knows how to run the ball. That's the thing. He knows how to run the ball. He's great at it. And so we'll just wait and see. But I feel like he'll wait until after the draft, after the off season, all the off season stuff goes, and camp starts. Once camp is over with, I think he'll end up signing with somebody.
Yeah, and that's what Texas Ty said in the chat room. They're going to wait till after the draft, which I think we're going to see a lot of things go down during and after the draft. But go ahead.
Yeah, and I was about to say, I think the same thing with Kaepernick. I think Kaepernick has, in some ways he has been blackballed from the league. But I think after the draft, somebody will give him a possible shot. Right now, his name is really, really, it's a really negative connotation on his name right now. So you have to wait. People are have to wait to let that die down a little bit before they sign him and bring him into camp. I still see a team like the Houston Texans possibly bringing him in. But I think he'll end up falling somewhere. It will just be later on in the season.
Yeah. And Jelani JB Bodie from the Wait a Minute Show, he says Ben AP is in his current position because he's not a must-have anymore. We have guys like Jordan Howard, Devontae Freeman, etc. are being drafted in the third round and later, and teams will draft young talent instead of having AP. And he's got a great point. And this draft is going to be deep. I mean, they're talking about Delvin Cook is going to not even be a first-round pick. Not to mention Leonard Fournette. Not to mention the kid from Joe Mixon. He's going to go in the draft. So you got so many players that you're right. You don't have to depend on AP. You don't have to be that concerned about him. But let's switch over to some NBA. We got to talk about this MVP. I'm hearing, are you out there mowing the lawn?
Oh, there's somebody right here blowing this thing right on the side of me. And I'm like, Lord have mercy, come on.
But yeah, I thought you might have been mowing the lawn and talking, man. You got multi-talented if you can do that. It's a wind blower. This guy's like right here on the side of my car, and he's just blowing. He's just blowing like crazy. He's just like walking up on the side of my car, and there's no dust over here, no leaves. He's just blowing it though. Like, what are you blowing? What are you blowing today? What are you doing? Yeah. But all right, let's talk about this co-MVP. People talking about co-MVPs. People need to shut up about that. There is no co-MVPs. I don't want to hear that. Who wants a co-MVP? Be quiet about that. Whoever in there, whoever is saying that, need to slap themselves. But anyway, I'm saying Russ. I've been saying Russ from probably, I don't know, man. I've been saying it probably since the All-Star break or probably before. But that's my pick. I love Harden. I think he's a great player. Again, people forget he does not play defense. I think Russell Westbrook is a better defender than Harden, but I think you cannot let this season go on with the accomplishments that he's made and not reward him for that. It is a individual player award. It is not your team is better than the other team, so you should get the award. That's not what it is. So I got to ask you, who's your pick and why?
See, so I have to actually disagree with that because
here we go.
I think it's a part of individual and team accomplishment.
Okay.
I mean, how can you be the MVP if your team isn't winning? and not to say that Westbrook team isn't winning. I think they've achieved pretty well. I think that some of it is him, some of it is bad play in the West this year. You know, a team like, for example, the Dallas Mavericks, who would have probably been a contender, having so many injuries at the beginning of the season. Portland Trailblazers regressed this season, and things like that. So I think it's a combination of a lot of things. And not discrediting Westbrook at all. I think Westbrook had a fabulous season. He balled out, man. I mean, the dude just balled out completely. With that being said, I think you got to take win total into consideration. I think you have to take, stats into consideration as well. Westbrook averaged a triple-double this season. Harden wasn't right, but, wasn't too far behind him. Right. Harden averaged 29, 11, and 8. 29, 11, and 8. He's the first player to have, 2,000 points, 600 rebounds, 700 assists, or some ridiculous stat. So he also set some records as well this season. He shot the better percentage, not by a lot. Field goal percentage was a lot higher than Westbrook, but the 3-point percentage was about the same. Their turnovers are about the same. I mean, they're almost identical players when you look at their numbers. It was almost identical season, with the exception that Westbrook had a couple more rebounds. Harden's defensive rating was higher than Westbrook's. Westbrook only contested 150 shots on the season. 150 shots this season. I mean, that is terrible. Yeah. so when you look at those numbers, I mean, and then again, the win totals. You're looking at Houston being a 3 seed, and Oklahoma being a 6 seed. There hasn't been. I don't think there's ever been a MVP that finished that low. And I think there's only one. Mack, I'm sorry. There's only been one MVP that finished that low, and I think it was Moses Malone, right? So it's hard to call. I think you have to take into consideration the win totals. I think you have to, and the stats. You have to take the entire breadth of work, and in that essence, when I look at the entire breadth of work, it makes me lean more toward Harden. Now, that's not to say Harden's going to win it. I think Westbrook will win it because he just had a ridiculous season. And, to me, I think the game against Denver, when he knocked Denver out the playoff race, that 3-pointer at the end of the game, kind of for me, that sealed the MVP race for me. That was just a ridiculous shot. I think he finished it with 51 points, I believe. 51 points. 16 rebounds, 11 assists. It was a ridiculous game, and they were down the entire game. Somehow they came back and won. So I think that game sealed the MVP race for me. But I wouldn't be surprised if Harden won it either.
Yeah, I just don't think Harden's going to win it. And I think averaging a triple-double, no one has done it since the Big O. To me, that's it. There's no more discussion. Man, you kind of getting roasted in the chat room right now. I'm gonna have to break it down. We got 47th Problem in the building. We got Rough Buff. We also got Big Kev. But Comment right here says, from Rough Buff, Westbrook led the league in scoring and average in triple-double